Hello and welcome to the BCSN Sports Wrap, another BCSN conversation. My name is Bryan and joining me is the new head women's basketball coach at Florida A&M University, Coach Shalon. Hello, Coach. Talking to her right off of the introductory press conference. She knocked it out of the ballpark. Coach Pillow, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Bryan. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Definitely, congratulations on this announcement, the job. Talk a little bit about it. It's always interesting when coaches, and this is your first head coaching job, but you've been on the bench with some great coaches. You played under a great coach. What kind of emotions are you having with this being your first opportunity to, I don't know if the right word is sit or stand as the main person on the court and running the show? What are your emotions right now?
I really look forward to the challenge. It's new. I've been coaching for 15 years on a collegiate level, and like you said, I've had the opportunity to be with some real heavy hitters. So just taking bits and pieces from all of their philosophies to create my own, it is just something I'm really ecstatic about. Getting able to do my own thing and see where I could take FAMU women's basketball.
Yeah, I got to definitely give a shout out to Coach Courtney Gosha for the hire because, I think, I know there were a lot of candidates, and to look at your resume, not only just as a student athlete and the program you came from, but then to see your coaching background, and when you start digging, it's amazing the kind of background and experiences you have. And so I can't think of a better hire in this COVID-19 world that we're living in right now for Florida A&M University. If you would, talk a little bit about just that in itself, this COVID-19, you're just coming from being an assistant coach of Middle Tennessee State, and now you're starting at Florida A&M. What kind of challenges does that in itself present?
Right. It's just unknown to everyone. It's new. It's not like I can call on any of my mentors or anybody in my circle to say, hey, what do I do here? Because it's new to them as well. There's going to be challenges, but it's new. So I don't think you can mess it up or make a wrong move as long as we stay connected as a team and we communicate and stay informed about what is going on. I think we'll be fine. That is just another thing I'm looking forward to, just getting down to Tallahassee, getting settled. So all my energy is towards our team and moving this program forward.
And in your press conference, you talked about having the opportunity to talk with the young ladies returning. And feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on numbers here, but to my knowledge, I think all of the available scholarships had been already given out. So you're almost coming in with the squad. I mean, the squad that you're working with is probably going to be the squad that you have or team that you have. So you had a chance to talk with the young ladies and even parents. And just, if you mind, maybe sharing a few thoughts on what that was like and maybe some things that came out of it, which give you maybe a sense of direction on how you want to move forward.
My message to all the girls was that this is a clean slate. I don't know them. I didn't recruit them. And I understand that they're not going to trust me right away because I'm their third coach for some of those young ladies, the third coach in 3 years. So I appreciate the love. I appreciate the excitement that they have about having new energy around them in the program. But at the same time, I made sure they knew, keep that same energy when I'm on your butts when we're on the court. Yes, I'm cool to get along with, as long as you work hard to give me your all, but I'll probably be asking you to do things that you've never been asked to do before. Nothing that you can't do, just things that you didn't know you were able to do. Because I want to get all I can out of all of my student athletes. So I plan on pushing them to a level they've never been, they didn't even know they had inside of them. So everything is good now. I got good feedback from the girls. They can't wait to get back on campus and get rolling. And I look forward to it. I know there's going to be some challenges like we talked about before as far as COVID and figuring out what virtual workouts look like and things along those natures. But all the feedback I've gotten, they're all in and they're ready to go to work.
Great. Now, one of the things that, I was really impressed in hearing and was your emphasis on giving max effort and just being able to come to practices and of course games and give everything you have every day. And you mentioned that was one of the things that your time with Coach Summit at Tennessee, was that the main thing when you think about your 4 years of playing and just, learning and watching and just being a part of the Tennessee program? Was that the thing that separated Tennessee? And is that the thing that kind of you're hoping to carry with you?
Absolutely. There's no excuses when it comes to practice with Coach Summit. It doesn't matter if you had a horrible day. It doesn't matter if you broke up with your boyfriend or had a F on an exam. Those 2 hours or 3 hours that she had with us were hers. And she expected everything we had in that time. If anything else, it should be an escape from what you have going on outside of basketball. So definitely, and I mentioned it in the conference, in the press conference as well, just her ability to separate. I had a hard time adjusting to it because she would just be on me so hard. And then after practice is over, it's like, so how's your mom? How's your classes? I'm like, wait a minute, do you really care? Because you just got done telling me I was the worst player ever. But as I got more time with her, and even more so as a coach, I understood the importance of having that relationship outside of basketball and being invested in your girls outside of just the basketball player and what they can do for you on the court.
Do today's, and I hate to frame it this way, but do student athletes today, and when I say today, I hate to use the word millennials, but let's just say the 2020 or 2019 student athlete, are they the same as when you were, when you were being recruited, when you were playing, you and your teammates, are they the same student athlete? And does the message and quote unquote tough love, does it still resonate with student athletes?
It is not the same at all.
Okay.
We got this thing called social media that just, you can make yourself appear to be anything you want yourself to appear to be. As where the people I came up with, and I even talked to some of my old AAU teammates recently that I hadn't connected with for a while. We talk about those summers that you could not get us out of the gym. We didn't have anything else to do, and we loved basketball. We would have practice, we would do individual workouts, and then we would play pickup until they kicked us out of the gym. And now I feel like there are some student athletes out there who just do it for the gram. They go to the gym and they want to snap a picture. You can't be doing work if you're snapping pictures and showing off what you did. And then the attention that you get, back early in my coaching career, you only offered people who you were serious about bringing onto your roster. But now, if you don't offer, they think you have zero interest, and they want to be able to tweet about it and say, FAMU offered me, or this school offered me. And it's not even about the content and the likelihood and what really matters about your career as an athlete or as a student moving forward. So it definitely is night and day.
And obviously you've been an assistant coach at USF, at Kentucky, Middle Tennessee State, programs that have had great success, led by some great coaches. And you still see that even with those players that you're bringing in, you still see that game that, that sort of, hey, like me, you have to sort of play that game a little bit. Mm-hmm. Is that one of the toughest parts of recruiting today's student athlete? Is managing through?
I'm sorry, managing through what? I'm sorry.
Just managing through all the social media needs.
It's not really a challenge. It's just an adjustment more so than a challenge, because this is what it is. It's not, I don't see it changing anytime soon. So you just have to adapt and change your approach to recruiting. Is how I would frame it.
Another thing, obviously, you know, one of the things that I was, and I'm not gonna lie, I had to go back and do some searching when I went back and I saw, you know, you played Tennessee 98 to 2002. You were there in some great Tennessee eras. And, you know, as a basketball fan, I was always, when it came down to Tennessee and UConn, I was always team Tennessee. I was always team Pat Summitt over UConn. So I'm just gonna, you know, just say that right now. So when I looked and saw that you played with what many consider probably 3 or 4 of the greatest Tennessee basketball players in Shamika Holdsclaw, Tamika Catching, Samika Randall, Kara Lawson. I mean, you spent some serious years with at least 3 of those young ladies. I don't know if you use that as a recruiting pitch when you're talking to players and student athletes. Does that still resonate with student athletes when you say, hey, I was part of this program, or hey, look, I played with this young lady, and you want a phone call? Look who I can put on the line. Does that work as a recruiting pitch in 2020?
Unfortunately not, because we're in an era of UConn. Oh, it's hard to say it. But we're in an era where the UConn Huskies and the South Carolinas and the Notre Dames are relevant. We haven't, as when I say we, Tennessee, I have to clear that up. We haven't been to a Final Four in years. Unfortunately, we haven't won a national championship since 2008, I believe. So, I mean, I'll tell you what, Bryan, it almost broke my heart when I was talking to some of my current players at Middle Tennessee State, and I said something about Shamika Holdsclaw, and their faces were blank. I said, you don't know who Shamika Holdsclaw is? Like, she was the MJ of women's basketball. Like, how do you not know your history? And that's something that's important to me too, especially I know that FAMU has a deep, proud history, and I want to make sure our players know what came before them. That is so important in building a program, that they know that, you know, there's people before you who had success. Let's learn from them. Let's involve them. Let's get them into this, into our family, connect them more so than ever before.
You mentioned, and one of those Rattlers who previously was a part of the program, Miss Natalie White, who I was on campus at the time when Natalie was playing for the Lady Rattlers, and you mentioned, you know, the story she told you about how Gaither Gym would be packed for the women's game, which was a 6 o'clock game, and men played at 8. And we all came. I was a student, so we came to come see the women. And if we hung around for the men, it's because maybe they were still in the game. But we came to see. No, for real. No, because we knew that Natalie and her teammates put on a good show. They played a good game. So talk a little bit about that experience of that conversation rather that you had with Natalie, and maybe some things that you are hoping you can do to connect her and her former teammates or just the past alumni with this new group of Lady Rattlers and the future recruits that you'll be bringing in.
That is very important to me, because that's what I talked to Natalie about. I asked her, you know, give me some insight. Like, what does it mean? Because she was there in some of the prime time basketball of Lady Rattler basketball. And the story I shared with during the press conference, that really stuck with me. I was like, that's what we need. And we've even talked to Courtney Gaucher and Valerie and myself. They even talked about possibly getting the rims back up in Gaither and getting that atmosphere of everybody on top. Like, you don't have room to take the ball out of bounds, and, you know, people in their face and things like that. So that's something that we've talked about, bringing back, have a game, 2 games, or something along those lines. It's very important that that the past Lady Rattlers feel welcome to come back. I want them to come back. I want them to come to practice. I want them in the locker room and just to be able to share, because these young ladies, they haven't seen success in a lot of years at Florida A&M. And I want them to know that it's possible. It could be done. It has been done. And, you know, just changing that culture and having the right people involved in the program to build it up is very important. And what better place, what better resource than to learn from the players from the past.
Definitely true. Another area that I found really interesting from your press conference was you mentioned about recruiting. And I mean, obviously we know good recruiting is the lifeblood of any program. And I think people always have preconceived notions about what it's like to be a part of a D1 Power 5, like a USF, Kentucky, Middle Tennessee State even. Good program, maybe not considered Power 5, but still a good program with good resources. When you look at what FAMU has to offer, what sort of things do you feel are its major recruiting advantages that you can sort of bring out as you talk to student athletes down the road?
Our facilities are amazing. We have the best facilities in the conference and better facilities than some of the schools that I have played at as far as a coach. It's great potential for recruiting just with the local talent. I know that there are a boatload of players in the state of Florida that maybe in the past people are like, well, you know, FAMU is not big enough. And, you know, but the FAMU alumni stretch across the world. I mean, you don't know the connections and the pride and the ties are so deep. There might be a D1 high Power 5 player out there who always wanted to go to FAMU. And just because we didn't reach out, they didn't think we want them. We just got them talking about social media. They want to be able to broadcast that FAMU offered them and that we're interested and we're showing love. So I think it's very important that we're not intimidated by Power 5 schools or talented kids, because who knows? We don't know unless you ask.
Right. I feel like there is a preconceived notion of what men's college basketball recruits look for in schools. You know, it might be television, or it might be gear, or it might be access to facilities and things of that nature. What is it that, when you talk to recruits, what are the things that matter to top level or just women's college basketball players? What is it that matters to them most?
Relationships are most important in women's basketball, for sure. Knowing that the people they're playing for care about them as a person is something from the time I played through my whole coaching career that's pretty consistent. You know, you're not as likely to do the hard stuff for someone that you don't think cares about you or thinks you're only being used for wins and losses. And I think that is the number one thing, is building relationship and building trust with your players.
Yeah, good. That's good to know. I'm always curious about that, and I'm hoping that, you know, we can be a part of bringing more exposure to women's basketball games, just in general, overall, because for basketball fans, got basketball junkies, basketball is basketball, and
Right.
and you know when it looks good and you know when it looks bad. So that's the one thing I can say. So let me ask you about scheduling, because you as the assistant coach over the past 15 years, you've been on the side of you know, when the small schools come in, you know, you guys, the big programs, you guys have sort of eaten a lot of those small schools up. Now you're coming in where you're going to be considered the small school, and you're going to have some big program wanting to eat you guys up. What's the maybe take us into the mindset from where you sat on the other side, and what's the perception, or what do you think you can prepare your team for when you make that trip to, you know, maybe hopefully FAMU will go to Knoxville and be able to play a game at Tennessee, or maybe even at Kentucky. When your ladies take that road trip, how do you prepare them for that game in that environment?
It's easy to get caught up, especially when you go to a Tennessee and you walk in that gym. Because when I was a coach at Kentucky, that was my first time being on the other side. That was my first time being on UT campus and not on the home team. So even then, when we were building the program at Kentucky and those girls walked in the gym and saw all those banners and saw Pat Summit floor, you get a little starstruck. And we told them they have to put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do. You know, like, don't get intimidated by that, because again, Coach Summit and what I plan on instilling in our girls, we're going to compete. I don't care if they are a Power 5. I don't care if we're picked to lose by 20 points. We're going to compete because everybody doesn't have their best days, and we're going to be prepared to take that opportunity if they take us lightly, or if they think, oh, this is an easy win. That doesn't affect how we play and how we approach the game. So that is what I would instill in them as far as these bigger schools.
Have you made any decisions, or have you already put together your coaching staff or any assistant coaches and things of that nature? I don't think that was a question that anyone kind of asked at the press conference. Do you know, have you put any of that kind of stuff together?
Yeah, I have a pretty good idea of who I'm going to hire. It's just a matter of going through the process and getting them cleared and through the whole system at Florida A&M. I feel very confident that we have the same vision and that we have the same interests as far as our players are concerned, because during this process, it's always been my passion that my student athletes and the girls that I'm in contact with are prepared for life after basketball. That they know that they're not just, it's easy on a college campus to just kind of get stuck in a bubble. And you only know what's going on that campus. And it's always been my passion to make sure that I made them do things on their own, because I was fortunate enough to be in a university where if I couldn't figure it out, I'd ask somebody and it was done. And then when you get into the real world, you don't have 20 people on your support staff making sure you get your classes done, making sure you get your bills paid. You just don't have, you'll never have that ever again. So the people that I plan on hiring are with me on that and know that is important. And that's another reason why FAMU is such a good fit for me, because that's the whole university's philosophy. Like, we're going to create citizens to go out into this world and do great things. And we want them involved in everything on campus. So that's why I think it was a good choice for me to make the move.
Yeah. I want to, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Coach, but I'm curious your background or the people who've influenced your life in coaching. I know you mentioned your dad.
Yeah.
Was one of your first coaches. Of course, Pat Summitt, Coach Jose Fernandez, who has over 335 wins at USF. Coach Matthew Mitchell, 279 at Kentucky. Hall of Famer, Coach Insel, Middle Tennessee State, 340. What's something that you can share from each coach that you're bringing with you to Florida A&M? And I know that that's a lot, so don't feel like you have to give me something from every coach, but I just thought I'd throw that out there to you.
No worries. I can definitely hit on that. I believe Jose taught me how to manage different personalities, because that was my first gig. Wasn't too far removed, and that was the first time I really was seeing the behind the scenes of how a basketball program is ran. Because as a player, what time I'm supposed to be there. You show up and do what you're supposed to do. You have no idea what goes in to coordinating anything with the program. So a lot of how you manage your staff and like the CEO part of it and the fundraising, definitely. Like, Jose did a great job with team camps. He had one of the biggest team camps in Florida. He did a great job with his golf tournament that he had every year. Like, he raised so much money for our program. I got a lot from him as far as that's concerned. At Kentucky, it was good because Matthew and I were both at Tennessee together. So we both learned under Coach Summitt. So I've known Matthew since I was 17 years old. And a lot of the things that we learned at Tennessee was also implemented at Kentucky. But Matthew's defensive philosophy is probably the most glaring thing that I took from him, as well as the time that we spent with them off the court, as far as knowing your perception in social media, knowing how to balance your checkbook, like life skills. We spent a lot of time at Kentucky, develop our players there. And then at NTSU with Coach Insel, he spent so much time with the details that I thought weren't important as a player, or as some other coaches I ran over, like, why does it matter if you step with your right foot or left foot? But then you see how that's the difference between a close game. If what hand that you get a deflection with, like little details that will carry you in so far in a game when those games are close. It's amazing how many times using the right hand to get a deflection was the difference in a game. So having that balance of being able to play freely and paying attention to details, all that is going to come together as part of my philosophy.
That's nice. That's nice. All right, Coach. I know I said I was going to let you out of here, but I got a last couple questions for you.
No worries. You're good.
Okay, so I'm going to take you back here. As a player, when you were at Tennessee, who was the toughest player that you had to guard?
Oh, my gosh. Hands down, Tamika Catchings. Because she played the 3 and the 4 position. Shamika was more perimeter. But when we had to do zigzags or one-on-one defense, and I had to get matched up with Catch, I'm like, Lord have mercy. I'm just trying to figure this out. And now you got me up here. Like, Catch, what is amazing about my teammates at Tennessee, Shamika Holsclaw and Tamika Catchings were the hardest workers on the team. You know, they weren't just the best players. And, you know, sometimes your best player is not your hardest worker. With those two, everybody worked hard. But for them to be as elite as they were, they spent more time in the gym than anybody else. And that's why they were so good. And that's why we had such great leadership, because they were doing more than anybody else. They couldn't, we couldn't say like, well, you're not doing it. Why you tell us to do it? I mean, they put in the time.
Opponent, non-teammate, who was the toughest guard? Anybody you can think of?
Man, we played so many great players. I mean, that is tough. I mean, we've had one of the hardest schedules in the country. Who? I mean, you almost have to say UConn, but that's tough because I played with those girls in AAU, like Tamika Williams Jeter now. She's at Ohio State. We grew up in Ohio together. We battled like our whole career. And you have to give UConn credit. It's unfair. You know, I want to say Lady Vols for life. I don't want to give UConn credit, but I mean, Gino's done amazing things there, and he's a great access to the women's basketball culture. But I really, you put me on the spot that one. I can't name Chantel Anderson at Vanderbilt. Okay. At Vanderbilt, for sure. Man, we had some battles. We really had some battles within the conference. That was a tough matchup.
Do you remember the game for you personally where it sort of clicked? Maybe all of Coach's teachings, or maybe things that in your own playing career as you were coming into Tennessee. Do you remember the game where it just clicked and you were like, I got this. I'm handling it right now. I feel great. Yeah. It was for us to go to the Elite Eight, I believe. We were playing Texas, if I'm correct. And Tamika Catchings got hurt. And I was on the bench. I was a role player. And I was just, Coach, please, like, let me add it. Let me get in there. And I scored 6 points in a row and gave us the momentum and gave us the lead. And that was probably the point in my head where I'm like, I got this, you know, because as a freshman coming in, you know, coming out of high school as an All-American, you think you got it figured out. Like, they just won 3 championships. They want me. So yeah, I'm good, but it was a different beast. Everybody's an All-American, you know, and you got to adjust and you got to pick up. I thought I was a strong person, but boy, after a year of training and all that, our bodies changed so much and we were on a different level. A Pat Summitt quote that you still use to this very day in coaching. False effort. That was one of her favorite lines. Don't give me false effort. There was times that we would just run after a ball that we knew we couldn't get, take us out of the play. They have it going other way. And it's like, don't give me that false effort. Don't, I tried and missed it and be dramatic. I use that every day. Like when you miss a pass, like, oh, shoot.
And instead of turning around to get down, they're like, don't give me that false effort. Get down the court. Like, we don't need all the dramatics. Let's play ball. So I use false effort a lot. And every time I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm Pat. That's Pat speaking through me.
Last one for you. As an assistant coach, maybe the one player that, and this may be hard because of your years as an assistant coach, the one player that you maybe feel like you connected most with on a one-to-one and really helping that young lady get to a next level?
Wow. That is really tough. A lot of my post players have been very successful after college, but maybe the one that I connected most who didn't even play after college was Gabby Lyons at MTSU. I mean, we had a really strong bond. She brings tears to my eyes every time she has something going on. You know, she reaches out to me and she thanks me often. And I have several players like that, but I think maybe Gabby's probably the most recent one that has graduated that have that connection with that, you know. And the amount of players that have reached out from my past since the announcement and everything, I'm going to have to get a mansion because everybody's saying, Coach Pillow, can we stay with you for homecoming? Coach Pillow, when can we come down? Like, I'm like, yo, I'm not going to be living in a mansion. Like, bring your air mattresses and sleeping bags. Y'all can stay. But if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Gabby. But, I mean, the relationships that I have with Kentucky players, South Florida players still, they run deep.
That's awesome. I'll personally be looking out if any former your college teammates happen to come down. I'll be looking out. I'll make sure to find you in the crowd. Big fan. Gotta admit it. You know. Coach, I appreciate all your time. Congratulations again on the job. I want to give you the last word. Is there anything maybe I forgot to mention or ask you that you'd just like to say? Whether it be to your family, friends, Rattler Nation, whomever, I'll give you the last word.
Well, I am just ecstatic about getting on the hill and learning all the traditions. I've been practicing learning the Florida song. Like, there's so many things I need to learn still. So as unfortunate as COVID is, it's giving me a little time that I can learn this stuff. So when we hit the ground running, I'll be all in. I'll look like a seasoned vet and know everything. So I'm ready to go, and things up, y'all.
All right, Coach, what's your social media? So that way we can make sure to follow you on social media. You're already a big hit. I've seen some of your posts already. Where can we find you on social media?
On Twitter, I am FAMU Coach Pillow. No underscores or anything, just FAMU Coach Pillow. On Instagram, it's spillow322. And then the Shalon Pillow on Facebook. Oh, and spillow322 on TikTok too, since that seems to be something that the people have been enjoying, the TikToks. So on TikTok too.
Stepping it up, Coach, on TikTok. Man, see what COVID-19 has done. I bet you would have never joined TikTok if it wasn't for COVID-19.
You're exactly right.
That's great. And look, when it's time to do a coach's show, I have a great name. I'll give it to you off air, but I've got a great name for your coach's show. But it wasn't my idea, but it's a great name, I personally think. But anyway,
okay.
Great name for your coach's show. So, Coach, again, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Shalon Pillow, the new head coach of the Florida A&M University Lady Rattlers. Looking forward to seeing them in action this upcoming year. We're praying that we have athletics and that all of our students get on campus and that we move forward. Sports will be back. And Coach, I look forward to talking with you, and we look forward to covering the program in the years to come. Congratulations again, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Bryan.
All right.